A black CEO went undercover in his restaurant to buy bread, and what he heard was horrifying. This story follows restaurant mogul Malcolm Hayes, who slips into his own soul food diner, Maggie's Table, disguised as a drifter. Hoping to gauge the place's pulse, he instead hears two cashiers mocking customers and the ghost owner. The moment forces Malcolm to confront how distance has hollowed the legacy his late mother seeded in every recipe, and sets him on a turbulent quest to rebuild the diner's soul before cynicism poisons it for good. Malcolm Hayes built Maggie's Table so his mother's recipes could keep feeding strangers long after she was gone, but months of board meetings had turned him into a ghost patron. One humid Friday, he decided to find out whether the heart of the place was still beating. He left the Bentley at home, pulled on fraying jeans, a thrift shop t-shirt, and a Braves cap so low it made eye contact optional. At 12:51 p.m., peak lunch, he tugged the glass door open and was stunned at how flat the room felt. No smile at the host stand. No chorus of, "Hey y'all," like Maggie used to sing from behind a boiling pot. Only the clack of forks and the drone of an overworked window, AC. He queued behind a contractor dusted in drywall and an elderly woman balancing an oxygen tank. Behind the register, Bella Ortiz smacked gum to the bass line of a pop song leaking from her earbuds. Beside her, Jamal Carter scrolled his phone thumb, flicking faster than the receipt printer. The line advanced. No greetings. Just Bella's board next. Malcolm ordered the smoked turkey melt with collard green pesto and baked beans. Bella tapped the screen without looking up. That it. Yes, ma'am. Cash or card? Cash. He slid a 10 across. Bella dropped change like spare washers. He stepped aside, heart sinking. Jamal tucked his phone away and leaned toward Bella, voice low, but not low enough. Another walker from Oak Street. Betty tips in quarters. Bella snorted. Management keeps letting the shelter crowd in. You get shelter pockets. Heard the owner's some big-shot investor who never shows. Probably sipping cucumber water in Midtown while we hustle. Man, I'd vanish too if this joint was my tax write-off. The words hit Malcolm harder than grease, popping on bare skin. He felt his jaw set tasted metal behind his teeth. Yet, he stayed quiet, letting the scene play through. When Bella slid a brown ticket to the expo window, Malcolm drifted down the hallway toward the restrooms. A cracked transom above the kitchen door coughed out steam and voices. Chef Andre Tank Lewis's baritone rolled out first. Cut that noise, kid. This house fed half the South Side after the tornado. Show respect. Jamal's laugh came thin. Respect's earned Tank. Then earn yours by carrying Tank fired back. Maggie's Table got room for everybody, even you with that ego. Malcolm's pulse steadied at Tank's defense, but disappointment pooled under his ribs. He returned to the counter. Cancel the sandwich, he said. Bella arched a brow. You sure lost my appetite. He pivoted, left the building, and sat in his dented pickup 2 blocks away, staring at the tremor in his own hands. How had he let dust settle on a legacy his mother scrubbed daily with love and lye soap? 15 minutes later, he walked the alley to the delivery door, memorizing every cynical word dripping through the vent. Jamal mocking first-timers. Bella calling regulars coupon hunters. Tank defending until his voice cracked. Malcolm's guilt thickened. He had planted a garden, then bragged about the seeds, while weeds choked the rows. Back at a roadside motel off I-20, he drafted a blunt text to the entire roster mandatory team, meeting 8 a.m. sharp. Attendance required. No emojis, no explanation. He spent the evening filling a notebook with bullet points, culture rot, accountability, second chances. At sunrise, he pressed a clean charcoal blazer, slid his late mother's bronze spoon into the inner pocket like a talisman, and headed for the reckoning. Malcolm parked across the street at 7:45 a.m., the bronze spoon pressing a cool curve against his rib each time he breathed. From behind the windshield, he watched morning light slide over the diner's sign. Maggie's Table flickered once like the neon was deciding whether today was worth the electricity. He decided for it. Tank arrived first, a cardboard coffee carrier balanced in one hand, keys jangling in the other. He paused when he saw Malcolm's unfamiliar truck, but shrugged it off and unlocked the side door. Minutes later, Bella rolled up in a rideshare, still thumbing her phone. Jamal sauntered from the bus stop, hoodie strings bobbing to silent music. 2 dishwashers, a timid host named Lacey, and veteran server Kayla followed. By 7:59, they were all inside, necks craned toward the clock, the mystery meeting coiling tension around every silence. Malcolm stepped out precisely at 8, blazer unwrinkled, face uncovered. When he pushed through the entrance, the staff formed a loose semicircle, surprise rippling fastest through Jamal. His earbuds dangled forgotten, and slowest through Bella, who froze mid-gum pop. Tank's eyes widened, then softened into a knowing respect. Malcolm let the hush linger until a register beeped in the background. "I'm Malcolm Hayes," he said, voice level. "Most of you know my signature from your checks, but haven't seen my face in a while. That ends today." He placed the spoon on the counter where everyone could see it. "This belonged to Maggie Hayes, my mother. She stirred hope into beans with it when we had more bills than food." He met each gaze. "Yesterday, I walked in as a stranger. I heard staff cut down guests who looked like they'd stepped off the wrong street. I heard the owner me dismissed as a ghost. I left hungry, but not for food. Hungry to find out where the spirit went." Bella swallowed, color draining. Jamal shifted weight from heel to heel. Tank's jaw tightened, though not at Malcolm. "I own my share of the blame," Malcolm continued. "I stopped showing up, and weeds love an empty garden. But disrespect is a weed you choose to water. We stop watering today." He unfolded a sheet of paper. "New standards. 1 weekly check-ins with me or Kayla. 2, every guest gets a greeting within 10 seconds. 3, mockery of customers or co-workers earns instant probation. 4, anonymous customer cards at every table because the people eating here write the real reviews." Jamal's hand went up, surprising even him. "Sir, what about second chances? Probation is a second chance," Malcolm replied. "You and Bella start on it this minute. Show me you belong." Silence. Then Tank cleared his throat. "I'll back the line, Mr. Hayes. You always have, chef." Malcolm nodded, then addressed all of them. "We open at 11. That gives us 2 hours to scrub stock and reset attitudes." The team dispersed like startled birds, but purpose quickly replaced panic. Tank barked orders. Pots clanged. Kayla reorganized the POS menu. Bella wiped down condiments with jittery focus eyes darting to Malcolm whenever gum reflex threatened. Jamal replaced his playlist with a local radio station, volume low, lyrics hopeful. At 10:30, Malcolm walked the dining room with a notebook, jotting details: dusty ceiling vent clean, napkin folds crisp, employee hellos muttered but present. Lacey rehearsed a welcome line under her breath until it sounded natural. Doors opened exactly at 11, and the first guest was an elderly gentleman in a VFW cap. Kayla greeted him by name. She remembered everyone and seated him by the window. Bella approached with water before he unbuttoned his coat. The old man smiled, a fragile sunrise of trust. Malcolm exhaled, one seed sprouting. The lunch rush, however, tested fragile roots. A printer jam-backed tickets. Jamal's nerves flared. He snapped at Lacey for double-send orders. Malcolm intercepted, lowered his voice. "Breathe, then fix." Jamal nodded, cheeks burning, and cleared the jam without another word. By 1:15, the wave ebbed, and Maggie's table still stood. No plates, returned. No guests, storming out. Bella tallied, her tip jar eyes widening at the weight of coins and bills. "People noticed," I smiled. She murmured to Kayla, half wonder, half confession. When the final check closed, Tank handed Malcolm a towel. Kitchen squared. "Need anything else, boss?" "Yeah," Malcolm said, heading for the front windows, a partner. He dipped the towel in cleaner and began polishing glass clouded by months of neglect. Tank joined without hesitation. Seeing the owners scrubbing drew the crew like gravity. Soon Jamal was brooming corners, and Bella varnishing the host stand. Sunset bled amber across the street as Malcolm set the bronze spoon back in his pocket. The glass gleamed, reflecting a team that looked smaller in number, yet somehow larger in presence. He locked up beside Kayla, who clutched a stack of blank customer cards. "You really going to read everyone?" she asked. "Every seed deserves water," he answered. "Tomorrow, we find out which ones grow." She smiled, and for the first time since Maggie passed, Malcolm felt the diner's lights humming in rhythm with his own pulse. Tonight was only day one of the audit, but the garden had been turned, and the first furrow was ready for planting. Kayla's smile still hovered in Malcolm's thoughts when he unlocked the diner at 5:20 a.m. The air inside was cool, the hush almost reverent, like the room was waiting to see if yesterday's promise would sprout. He set a bakery box of cinnamon sugar donuts on the prep table, watering the seed, with carbs never hurt, and taped a note to the lid, "Sunrise Fuel." "Let's grow." Tank arrived next, rubbing sleep from his eyes, yet grinning at the smell. Jamal shuffled in soon after, earbuds out, hands shoved into hoodie pockets, but shoulders squared with intent. Bella followed, ponytail damp from a fast shower, clutching a fresh notebook. Malcolm nodded to each, then gathered them in a semicircle near the pass. "Quick huddles," he said. 5 minutes each. Nobody's job is small, so nobody's voice is either. One by one they spoke. Lacey admitted she panicked when guests asked for menu stories. Tank promised to print brief descriptions. Jamal confessed timing anxiety. Kayla offered to shadow him at the register for an hour. Bella, eyes bright, but nervous, said she wanted to learn table service to understand customers better. Malcolm took notes, then handed out laminated recipe cards Maggie had typed on an ancient royal typewriter. "We cook her way, or we don't cook." At 10:15, a pair of food bloggers waltzed in, cameras dangling like badges. No warning, just a chipper. "We're Southern Bites. Mind if we sample?" Malcolm's pulse jumped, but he gestured to a booth. "We weren't expecting guests this special." Kayla chirped, "But the mac and cheese is always dressed for company." The bloggers grinned, already filming. Lunch sprinted out of the gate. Church ladies after Bible study, 3 EMTs on overlapping breaks, a mother-son duo celebrating honor roll grades. The line moved smoother than yesterday. Still cracks showed. Lacey overpoured sweet tea, soaking order slips. Jamal let 2 tickets stack before calling pickups, the old panic gripping. Bella's first table flagged her twice for extra napkins. Malcolm floated, redirecting with gentle taps, a refill here, a calming whisper there. Then, Tank tasted the collared pot and frowned. "Salt's shy," he muttered. Bella heard, grabbed the kosher box, but Malcolm stopped her. "Show don't fix," he reminded. Tank called Jamal over, demonstrated the triple pinch method. Maggie swore by, "Season stir. Stand 30 seconds, taste again. Patience flavors food." Jamal copied, pulse visibly slowing. Bella tightened her apron, absorbing every detail. At 1:37, the unexpected arrived, a county health inspector, clipboard poised. Malcolm's heart pinged against the spoon in his pocket, yet he forced a steady greeting. The crew shifted, but didn't stumble. Kayla produced sanitizer logs. Tank guided the inspector through fridge seals. Jamal offered fresh gloves before anyone asked. The inspector watched, scribbled, lifted thermometers, nodded. 30 minutes later, he posted a bright green 98 beside the entrance. A cheer rippled across the floor, honest and loud enough that diners clapped along. The bloggers caught the whole scene, authentic and spotless, one narrated into her phone. Bella caught Malcolm's eye, stunned at being part of a highlight reel rather than a hidden shame. He gave a small thumbs up and moved on. By 3 o'clock, the rush waned. Malcolm gathered the crew at a freshly wiped booth, slid the health score into the center, and tapped it once. "Proof the garden's alive," he said. Jamal exhaled, like he'd been holding the same breath since he clocked in. Bella traced the shiny 98 with her fingertips, smiling for the first time without effort. Tank leaned back, arms folded. Still, soil to till, boss. Malcolm grinned. "Tomorrow, we mulch." He pointed to the laminated mission Maggie had once sketched on a napkin, "Feed with dignity," now framed above the window. "We'll add, teach with patience." Right under it. Lacey raised a timid hand. "Can we keep doing 5-minute huddles?" It Helps. Malcolm nodded. Daily. They dispersed for closing chores, but energy lingered humming like a well-tuned fridge. Before Bella left, she placed her notebook on Malcolm's desk. The first page read, "Questions to ask every guest." How's the first bite? 2. Any story behind your visit? 3. What's one flavor you miss from home? 3 seeds, neatly numbered. The sky outside was lavender when Malcolm locked up. He glanced at the neon. The flicker was still there, but steadier, as if even the sign felt hopeful. He touched the spoon in his pocket and pictured Maggie tasting collards, nodding approval. Tomorrow would bring new weeds, new weather, maybe bigger storms, but tonight the rows were straight, the soil turning rich, and the first green shoots were unmistakable. The rows were straight, and the first green shoots were unmistakable. Malcolm let that victory echo through his dreams. When dawn cracked over East Atlanta, he was already parked across the street, coffee cooling in the cup holder. The neon still flickered, but its pulse felt confident like a heartbeat that had found rhythm overnight. He told himself he'd go in after 1 sip, then after 2. By the 3rd, he realized the test he'd planned was already in motion. Could the garden grow when the gardener kept his distance? At 6:05, Kayla's Corolla rolled in. She hopped out with clipboard and Key's ponytail swishing like a metronome. Tank arrived a minute later, shoulder-checking the lock on the back door before lugging in produce crates. Jamal and Bella came next early, for once arguing cheerfully about whose playlist belonged on the Bluetooth speaker. Lacey skipped across the sidewalk, carrying a mason jar of Daisy's table decor she'd bought with her own tip money. Malcolm stayed hidden behind his windshield, resisting every instinct to direct correct praise. Let the soil speak. Inside, the symphony began without him. Tank's knives thumped in rhythm. Kayla set up server stations and drilled a new greeting Lacey had rehearsed. Bella counted the till twice. Jamal triple-checked printer paper. The only off note came at 10:42, the first pointer finger of a tour bus driver tapping the glass. 40 senior citizens in matching peach t-shirts poured out like a slow-moving river. Lacey hustled to rearrange tables. Bella handed out menus with the smile she'd practiced in her notebook. Malcolm tensed when he saw the register screen freeze. The Wi-Fi had crashed. Jamal's shoulders rose to his ears, but Kayla's hand landed on them. Manual tickets, she ordered. She grabbed a stack of guest checks, numbered them, and became a human POS shouting totals to Bella, who ran the calculator like a Vegas dealer. Tank barked fire code short orders. Jamal scribbled modifiers and sprinted plates. When a guest asked for unsweet tea, Lacey had none ready. She dashed to the server station, brewed a pot on the fly, and returned before the question turned complaint. From across the street, Malcolm saw confusion morph into choreography. The line bent, but didn't break, and to his shock, laughter began bubbling from the long table near the windows. Bella had started a trivia game about Georgia peaches to stall while desserts baked. The seniors applauded when the last cobbler slice hit the right plate. Jamal raised both fists in triumph, then caught himself and settled for a modest grin. Only after the bus door hissed shut did Malcolm walk over. He entered quietly, but everyone spotted him by the flour on his loafers. He'd paced a rut in the parking gravel. Kayla's eyes widened, then softened into relief. Jamal froze, expecting critique. Bella bit her lip cheeks bright. Malcolm simply clapped once loud. That, he said, was Maggie-level hospitality. He helped them wipe tables, then waved Tank and Kayla into a corner booth. Out came a thick folder, marked compensation. Weeds aren't the only thing that choke gardens. Thin soil does too, he said. Inside were salary adjustments, a pooled tip model, and a profit share ladder pegged to quarterly growth. Tank whistled low. Kayla blinked twice, then reached for a pen. Floor manager, she read next to her name. Malcolm nodded. You already act like it. Title should catch up. By 4 o'clock, the diner gleamed. Jamal taped the handwritten tour bus menu on the wall like a trophy. Bella tallied tips, highest single shift since pre-pandemic, and slipped an extra 10 into Lacey's apron for the daisies. Malcolm retreated to his office with Ruth, the gray-haired accountant he'd phoned after lunch to run numbers. Ruth pinched her glasses low, scanned the profit share grid, and grinned. Costs tighten, morale soars. Good trade. Evening settled in violet and gold. The crew filtered out, exhausted but buoyant. On the sidewalk, Kayla fired up the staff group chat. Today we danced sans music. Tomorrow we bring the band. Thumbs erupted in emojis, peach icons, garden sprouts, a single bronze spoon. Jamal text-doodled from punctuation. Malcolm locked the door behind them, stared at the spoon in his pocket, and felt its curve warm against his palm. The gardener had watched from the edge today. The garden had proven it can photosynthesize on its own. Now, with richer soil promised, he imagined roots digging deeper overnight, preparing for whatever weather came next. Roots dug deep through the night, and by sunrise, Malcolm felt the shift before he even turned the key, an almost electric anticipation humming behind the door. He wheeled in two whiteboard easels, Ruth on his heels with an overstuffed folder, and asked the crew to circle up. "Yesterday, you proved you can thrive without me hovering," he began. "Today we make sure the soil stays rich." He flipped the first board: base pay, plus 120%. Tips pooled. Quarterly profit share. Gasps popped like corn. Jamal's eyes skated from the numbers to Bella's stunned grin. Tank muttered a proud amen. But the deepest exhale came from Marcus, the grizzled fry cook, who'd covered night shifts since before Malcolm's first expansion. Marcus scratched his beard, squinted at the chart. "So a green kid on dish gets the same pool as me, burning my knuckles on hot oil." "Same percentage, yes," Malcolm replied. "Because guests don't see positions. They see one experience. We rise or fall together." Marcus's jaw worked like a jammed gear. "Sounds like socialism with extra salt," he growled, slamming a spatula on the grill. Silence shivered through the room. Malcolm held his gaze. It's stewardship. If it doesn't fit, there's the door, no shame choosing different soil. Marcus stalked off to prep onions, muttering about handout culture. The rest got to work, buoyed by pay bumps and curiosity about profit share. Lacey taped a fresh sign near the host stand. "Ask for a kitchen tour. No secrets, just seasonings." By noon, the diner buzzed. Guests snapped selfies near the 98 score decal. Suddenly, a familiar voice sliced the chatter. Tanya, the ex-cashier fired months ago for skimming tips, barged in, holding her phone high on livestream. "Y'all watch how this community place really treats workers," she declared to 200 online viewers. Malcolm spotted Marcus stiffen his discontent, ready to ignite beneath Tanya's goad. She zoomed on the line, sneering, "See them sweating while the owner counts dollars." Jamal swallowed, cheeks flaming. But Kayla stepped forward, voice steady. "You want the truth? Come behind the pass." She waved Tanya through the swinging door. Cameras followed. Tank handed Tanya a tasting spoon. "Collards. Family recipe. Tell your viewers if respect's missing." Tanya grimaced, tasted, and couldn't hide the slight nod of approval. Bella pointed to the whiteboard listing wages and share percentages. "Transparent as the windows we scrub." Lacey guided the phone toward the dishwasher station where Victor promoted. That morning smiled shyly and said, "First job that ever offered me a future." The comment feed flipped, "Looks solid. Wish my boss showed numbers. Dang free tours." Tanya's swagger wilted. She mumbled something about still exploitative, but the chat had turned. She retreated, stream abruptly ending. Back on the line, Marcus burst. "Tours. Profit splits. Now circus stunts." He flung his apron on the counter. "I've sweated for this place since Maggie herself yelled orders. I'm not sharing my cut with rookies." Tank stepped between him and the friar's hiss. "Then take your seasoned skillet elsewhere, brother." Marcus glared at Malcolm. "You choosing kids over loyalty." "I'm choosing growth over rust," Malcolm said quietly. Marcus scoffed, stormed out the back, the metal door rattling behind him. A tremor quaked through the diner, but lasted seconds. Tank slid to the fryer, Jamal grabbed tongs, Bella rerouted expo tickets. Plates kept flying. Guests barely sensed the gap. When the rush ended, Malcolm packed Marcus's belongings into a box, set it by the exit, and taped a note. "Thank you for the years. Doors always open when you're ready to share the garden." He posted the fry cook vacancy on the staff corkboard under internal promotion. First. Within minutes, Victor shyly penned his name. Malcolm snapped a Polaroid of the crew, circling Victor grease-stained fists, lifted in solidarity. He pinned the snapshot beside Maggie's spoon with a single pushpin. As dusk bled through the windows, Ruth texted the first-day tally pool tips, up 18% labor costs flat. Malcolm read it aloud. Cheers ricocheted off tile and chrome. Bella passed a Sharpie to everyone, and they signed the whiteboard that had launched the new pay model. Jamal capped the pen, last added a crooked sprout doodle, and wrote beneath it, "Money talks kinder when every tongue gets a taste." Malcolm locked up alone, neon humming, steady green. Marcus's absence still stung, but the garden felt healthier. Sunlight reaching shoots previously starved in shadow. He slipped Maggie's spoon into his pocket thumb, tracing its worn handle, and whispered into the quiet, "We're mulched, Mama. Let's see what blooms next." Malcolm's last whispered promise still echoed when dawn split the sky with bruised clouds. Weather radio growled about a fast-moving summer storm, but inside Maggie's table the air buzzed brighter than the forecast. Victor donned his new fry cook apron. Tank slapped his shoulder like christening a ship, and Bella clipped a printed sprout doodle beside the health score decal, "Grow on." Jamal, counting pooled tips, announced first profit share bonuses go out Friday. Cheers bounced off stainless steel. By 11:40 a.m., thunder was pacing the roof. The lunch line curled toward the door. Nurses, delivery drivers, a family celebrating adoption papers. Malcolm watched barometer numbers on his phone dip and felt the spoon in his pocket throb like a barometer of its own. Lightning cracked at 12:07. A white flash so loud the room gasped. Everything went black music, POS screens, exhaust fans. For 2 heartbeats, only rain and confused murmurs filled the dark. Kayla's voice cut through phones, out flashlights on. Nobody panics. Tank fired up the gas burners. Blue flames hissed, steadfast. Bella grabbed votive candles from the birthday cake drawer, emergency ambiance, she quipped. And Lacey sprinted to pull blinds for dramatic effect. Within minutes, tables glowed in warm halos, the storm's growl now background percussion to clinking silverware. Yet orders were trapped in silent terminals. Jamal inhaled once, exhaled slower. Hand ticket relay old school. He stationed Victor near the pass, scribbled dish names on index cards, and shouted, running like an auctioneer. Guests, mesmerized by the impromptu theater, leaned closer instead of complaining. Tank plated catfish by candlelight. Bella floated with refills, her grin bright as the wicks she trimmed. When a toddler cried at thunder, Lacey produced paper crowns and declared everyone storm royalty. Laughter replaced fear. At 12:46, a TV news crew chasing outage footage burst through the door. Camera lights flooded the room, colliding with candle glow. Reporter Aisha Grant asked, "How's a diner still serving hot plates in a blackout?" Malcolm nudged Kayla forward. "Maggie's table was born in a house with more love than electricity," she said to the lens. "So a little darkness just reminds us where we started." Tank lifted a skillet like a trophy. Diners applauded. The camera panned to the packed room, no empty seats, no dark faces. Power jolted back at 1:03, drawing another cheer. The register rebooted with a triumphant ding, and Bella rang an imaginary bell. Malcolm pulled out his phone, social feeds, already buzzing with breaching candlelight catfish clips. Within the hour, call-ahead reservations tripled. After the rush, Malcolm gathered staff around booth 3. "You turned a blackout into a spotlight," he said, sliding envelopes across the table, early releases of the profit share bonus. Victor blinked at his name on printed company letterhead, whispering, "First check with my real address." Tank clapped. "Once, spend it wise, spend it proud." Jamal cleared his throat. "Boss, my cousin Dion's out of county this week. Looking for steady work, dishwasher level. Can I vouch?" Malcolm remembered his own first break and nodded. Interview tomorrow. Shift trial, same day. Thunder had retreated to a distant mumble by closing time. Malcolm walked the perimeter with the maintenance checklist and paused at the front windows. Bella was there alone, polishing glass, already spotless. Storm streaks, she explained, though none were visible. She caught her reflection, added, "I like seeing us clear." Lights off, door locked. Malcolm stepped onto the wet sidewalk, breathing petrichor and neon hum. The sign flickered once, less a glitch, now more, a wink, and steadied. He thought of Marcus, somewhere replaying old arguments, and hoped the glow reached him too. Inside his pocket, the bronze spoon warmed as if carrying the day's stored sunlight. Gardens, Malcolm knew, thrive on weather extremes. Roots grip deeper, after lightning reminds them sky and earth still speak. Tomorrow would bring Dion's test, fresh customers chasing #hype, maybe another crisis no forecast could name. But tonight, under calming clouds, Maggie's table stood bright in the dark, and brighter in the light, a living proof that shared hands keep the flame when wires fail. The sunrise after the storm found Malcolm propping the front door open at 7:00 a.m., the asphalt still shining like poured glass. Inside, the staff buzzed with the giddy exhaustion of people who had wrestled chaos and won. They were polishing silverware when Jamal arrived with Dion, a tall, wiry man whose nervous energy matched the steady tap of his cheap dress shoes. Victor offered a fist bump. Dion hesitated, then returned the touch like someone testing the temperature of belonging. Malcolm handed Dion an apron and a single sentence. "Today is your resume." From 8 to 11, the new hire washed pans so fast, steam cloaked him like a moving cloud. He never raised his voice, never rolled his eyes when Victor thundered. More trays only answered, "Got you," and kept scrubbing. When the lunch bell rang, Victor slipped a hush puppy into Dion's hand and whispered, "You're in." Malcolm saw the exchange, felt a notch slide into place, and wrote, "Welcome home" across Dion's time card. The #hype doubled foot traffic by Wednesday, and by Thursday, the diner's phone rang more for job inquiries than reservations. Malcolm realized the next step was bigger than a single position. It was a pipeline. He called the neighborhood shelter the city's re-entry program and the local culinary school, then printed a banner that read, "Community Hiring Fair, Saturday 9-2 every story welcome." Kayla stapled flyers on utility poles. Bella blasted the event on socials, and Tank promised free gumbo samples as liquid courage for shy applicants. Saturday dawned humid, the air smelling of magnolia and possibility. A line wrapped the block teen moms with strollers, veterans with patched duffels, a kid who couldn't have been older than 15, clutching a GED flyer like a boarding pass. Jamal and Lacey checked names, handing out numbered stickers. Victor ran dish demos, letting candidates try the sprayer and see their reflections in the shining steel. Bella coached eye contact. Kayla mapped shift schedules on a butcher paper chart. Malcolm floated, greeting each person like a future teammate, rather than a gamble. Shortly past noon, Councilman Rivera appeared in rolled shirt sleeves, wiping sweat from his brow. He presented Malcolm with a framed proclamation, applauding Maggie's table for economic inclusion and culinary excellence during crisis. Malcolm accepted, then turned and pressed it into Bella's hands. "Hang it where the line can see," he said, "so folks know the bar we keep raising." By 2 o'clock, 46 interviews had yielded 12 on-the-spot offers and 18 second-round callbacks. Tank's gumbo pot was scraped to its copper skin, and the tip jar repurposed as a scholarship fund for any hire pursuing a food safety certificate overflowed with crumpled bills. Staff and applicants mingled over leftover cornbread, laughing like they already shared a break room. At closing, Malcolm gathered everyone beneath the mission sign. He unfolded a new card, laminated in bold green feed with dignity. "Hire with hope. Water daily." One by one, employees old guard and brand new signed the plastic with permanent marker. Dion's signature landed beside Tank's rumbling scrawl. Lacey dotted her I with a heart, and Victor traced the outline of the spoon doodle for luck. When Jamal finished the last stroke, Malcolm snapped a Polaroid of the group, thumbs-up aprons, ink-smudged faces shining, and pinned it beside Maggie's photo on the corkboard. Not every story ended in fireworks. On Monday, Marcus slipped in during the lull between breakfast and lunch, hat in hand. He eyed the laminated card, then the bustling kitchen, and finally Malcolm. "Heard you're still watering," he muttered. Malcolm raised an eyebrow toward the fry station Victor handled baskets with the calm of a man making art. Marcus nodded, equal parts pride and humility. "If the soil's got room, I'll share." Malcolm tossed him an apron. Marcus caught it like a lifeline. The weeks that followed settled into a cadence, neither frantic nor dull council staffers dropping in for hush puppies, influencers praising the blackout diner shelters, emailing lists of eager candidates. Profits edged upward, but culture soared, measured in small moments. Lacey remembering a regular's anniversary, Dion teaching a child to fold napkin roses, Jamal catching himself before stress could raise his voice, and choosing a deep breath instead. One quiet Thursday close, a little girl in pigtails left a crayon drawing on table 6, an enormous spoon with a cape, and the caption, "Your mac and cheese makes me brave at school." Malcolm pinned it beside the mission card. After the crew clocked out, he stepped into the parking lot. The neon flickered once twice, then glowed steady, casting green light over fresh planter boxes, sprouting herbs the staff had planted from seed packets labeled Marcus's comeback mint and Dion's second chance basil. Malcolm touched the bronze spoon in his pocket, its worn handle warm from the day's trials. He looked at the sign, the planters, the light bleeding onto cracked pavement, and understood that foundations weren't fixed things, but living agreements renewed each day by the hands that showed up. He whispered, "Still watering, Mama," and walked back inside the door, clicking shut behind him, but the spirit of the place wide open, ready for tomorrow's sun.